Today's conversation is on why I stopped trying to be, why I stopped trying to be, and why when the individual stops trying to be, what happens is, and I trust you've noticed this, let's say something that you desire to experience spontaneously happens. As you stop trying to be, let's say what you desire to be experiencing in life happens. Why is that the case? Well, we explored this quite extensively, I imagine, in the video that I released on Thursday. If you haven't seen it, I'll link in the description to it. I would like to explore this with you today. Why I stopped trying to be. Why I stopped trying to be as I am. As that would imply that I am not, if I try to be. So, before we continue, I would like to announce that I'm doing some changes on the content. I have created another channel where I discuss my entrepreneurial journey. I've been an entrepreneur full-time since 2009. So I created another channel where I exclusively focus on entrepreneurship, specifically the entrepreneurship aspects of my life. If you're interested in that, I will link in the description to that channel. And on that channel, I brought back, you could say, what some refer to as the vintage Joseph Rodriguez style, which is the mind maps. They are there on that channel. So I trust you'll enjoy and benefit from that channel greatly if you have an interest in entrepreneurship. Now, also, I am going to adjust my video schedule based on availability, based on the projects, based on my personal life, etc. I do want to continue making 3 videos a week on this channel now. For a number of years, we have been having 3 conversations per week. One on Tuesdays, one on Thursdays, and one on Sundays. So starting next week, Tuesday's conversation is going to be on the new channel, focused exclusively on entrepreneurship. And then we will continue our Thursdays and Sundays conversations on this channel. So today I would like to explore what I mean by I stopped trying to be, or we could say I stopped trying to be as I am. Consider for a moment that it is only the person in mind that could try to control things, let's say, in relationships. Let's use relationships in context. That could try to pretend, you could say, to be someone that they're not in order to make a relationship, let's say, work, or try to control the other person to make a relationship work. When actually, what we truly desire is authentic, harmonious relationships. And this is true for personal relationships, friendships, business relationships, etc. So persisting in the need to try to control things can play out in a number of different ways. Trying to be liked, approval seeking, validation seeking, or confirmation seeking, let's say, of particular beliefs in mind, suggesting that if a condition is met, then love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And if the condition is not met, then not love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Approval or validation seeking, we could say, which again is not you, as you exist as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Existence is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. You are already all that you desire to be. You have all that you desire. So we do not need to seek it in a relationship. We experience love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment with another person in a relationship. And that is not based on confirmation bias, conditional beliefs. That is not based on, let's say, if a person says something or doesn't say something, does something, or doesn't do something. So this, let's say, person in mind, which is not you, you transcend the mind. So thus you're not the person in mind. You are not the false identity construct made up of beliefs of limitation. True identity is you. Existence, existing as perfect love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. You are whole, you are complete, you are perfect as you are now. That is you. That is true identity. So we shift from the false identity construct, which is made up of beliefs of limitation, into true identity, we could say, by acknowledging that you transcend these beliefs in mind. These beliefs that suggest you need to try to force and control reality to be experienced perfect as it is, which is an illusion, because reality is perfect as it is now. You are perfect as you are now. You are reality, perfect as you are now. Without conditions, you are perfect as you are now. Unconditional love, unconditional happiness, unconditional peace, unconditional bliss, unconditional fulfillment. Thus, you don't need to try to be. You can simply be, purely be, as you are, perfect as you are now. Thus, you don't actually need approval or validation to prove. In other words, what I mean is, you don't need another person to say something or not say something, do something or not do something to prove that you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And so what practical benefits are there in relationships as we acknowledge that existence is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment? Well, it is experienced as flow-based relationships, flow-based harmonious relationships. You may notice that you spontaneously meet the people that you desire to meet. Or we could say, more accurately put, what you once desired, you now physically experience, as we could say, you allow yourself to be perfect as you are now. There is no resistance as you allow yourself to be. I trust you notice this. As you allow yourself to be perfect as you are now, as you exist now, perfect as you are now, reality is perfect as it is now, you are perfect as you are now, existence consciousness bliss, truth consciousness bliss, Satchit Ananda. You exist now as bliss. What plays out naturally then is, we can even say, blissful relationships, blissful life experiences, spontaneously. I have seen my own relationships appear to transform. We could say appear to transform, because that's what it appears as. It appears as this world appearing to transform, to reveal that you are bliss, and it plays out as the theater of bliss. So we can be as we are by not identifying with the thoughts that suggest that you need approval, validation, or confirmation to prove that you are bliss, that you are love, that you are happiness, that you are peace, that you are fulfilled. In other words, we could say, you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment for no reason at all. Not for this or that condition. Existence. You exist as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And as a person accepts themselves as they are now, perfect as they are now, it plays out naturally as harmonious relationships. I noticed this, for example, in conversations with friends. In the earlier stages, I would look for them to acknowledge, let's say, particular accomplishments in life. I may have at one point formed an identity, the false identity construct, around entrepreneurial success. And I wanted them to acknowledge that, wow, Joseph, you were this way in high school, and now you're this successful entrepreneur. You're living the life that you genuinely desire to live. And let's say if they didn't say that or something like that, I feel I was missing something. which is an illusion. What am I missing? I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Whether I am an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, we could say, or if I work in a corporate career or whatever, unconditionally, not because of this or that reason. Yet I experience love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, doing what I love to do, which then we could say plays out as entrepreneurial success. And so by not trying to be, what happens is if they say that, great. If they don't say that, great. We have a wonderful relationship with each other. We have an authentic, we could say unconditional love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment-based relationship. By not seeking for that approval or validation, which is not you really seeking. That is not you really thinking. That kind of thinking belongs to what the Bible refers to as the old man or the former self. How could you lack love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment? You are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. You have love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. I am bliss now. I am love now. I am happiness now. I am peace now. I am bliss now. Not because of an external condition. And as you accept yourself perfectly as you are now, you stop trying to be. I stop trying to be as I am. I accept myself as I am now. And it plays out as wonderful relationships. Another point is trying to control the outcome. So, for example, in business, as mentioned, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. And again, I have the new channel, which I'll link to in the description. And we talk about entrepreneurship. And I feel inspired actually to make the next video on conversations with prospects and clients and facilitating harmonious relationships in that area, which results in harmonious business growth, etc. in a fun, joyous, flow-based way, rather than trying to control the other person, force, manipulate, strong-arm. There's no need for that, I found. So rather than trying to control the outcome and suggesting if the outcome goes this way, then love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And if it doesn't go that way, then not love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. I stop trying to be. One could say, I allow myself to be. And it plays out as wonderful conversations, flow-based conversations. I trust you notice this. You know what to say, what to do. Everything flows. And let's say in business, what happens is you have a conversation with the prospect, and they may say, well, I'm not interested in moving forward with this deal. Nothing wrong with you, nothing wrong with them, nothing wrong with the deal even. Nothing wrong with the product or service even. I trust you notice this. But what may spontaneously arise is some innovative idea for a new product or service, because you clearly see reality perfect as it is, that what they're interested in is a particular outcome. And you just so happen to have the relationships, the resources, and the expertise, or as I say it sometimes, assets, intangible assets, which is your expertise, the tangible assets, whatever physical device, let's say, or technology to put it in place, and the relationships. Maybe you have a team member that you could collaborate with and provide a new offer that is a match. You see clearly now, without trying to be, you allow yourself to be, you allow them to be. Everything appears to be in harmony with you. Reality appears to be perfect as it is now. You are perfect as you are now. They are perfect as they are now. Existence, consciousness, bliss. And then what happens is clarity arises as a new, innovative idea. This is how I came up with the point of sale system in my IT business back in the days, and other innovative ideas. Allowing things to be perfectly as they are. Allowing myself to be, not trying to be. I stopped trying to be in that moment. And what happened then is an innovative idea arose And I propose it. And they say, yes, that is exactly what I was looking for. Let's move forward with this. Another one is, let's say, trying to be enough. Do you acknowledge that existence, the fact that you exist? Again, we go through a meditation to bring forth, without me trying to convince you, the experiential embodiment of being bliss in the video that I released on Thursday. If you haven't seen it, I'll link in the description to it. You are enough, not because I said so. You don't need me to convince you that you are enough. You acknowledge that you are enough. You are bliss. You are love. You are happiness. You are peace. You are bliss. As you don't seek externally for approval, validation, confirmation of being love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. You experience it at any moment, spontaneously, like you do in a meditation, like you do while you're in flow. Have you noticed that while you're in flow, as you remain in your flow, as you relax into the flow, as you try not, and thus are in flow, we could say, you experience bliss, happiness, peace, fulfillment with whatever it is that you're doing. Gardening, going for a walk, conversations with people. And everything flows. Reality appears to be in harmony. Everything appears to be in synchronicity, perfect as it is now. Thus, you are enough for no reason at all. Not for this or that reason. As mentioned, an example. A person may think if they acquire X amount of money in their bank account, then they can be enough. Or if they have this or that relationship, then they can be enough. That's an illusion to suggest that you need something in order to be enough. You certainly can have, you certainly can experience. I teach entrepreneurship. I set those definite chief aims up myself. You can experience the money you desire to experience in your bank account, the kind of relationships that you would like to have, fitness, etc. Yet, you being enough is not based on those appearances. So I do not form identity around those appearances. I do not associate that to identity. Identity is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Existence is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Beyond conditions, unconditional, not because of this or that appearances. Yet, as I mentioned earlier, have you noticed that when you stop trying to be, what you once desired spontaneously arises? All of a sudden, you get business deals. All of a sudden, you meet the person. All of a sudden, you have the kind of experiences physically that you once desired to have. The next is trying to avoid discomfort. This is an interesting one. I have spoken many times about how what I have done over the years by not trying is allowing myself to do the things that I genuinely desire to do, which intuition reveals. And it could be something spontaneous. Now, let's say I get a spontaneous idea to do something, spontaneous travel. Or this is a common question I get asked. Let's say I see someone that I genuinely desire to talk to when I'm out and about or at an event. I want to start a conversation with them. I genuinely desire to do it. Intuition. You genuinely desire to do it. And then in the moment, the person in mind might not allow themselves to have that wonderful experience with another person because maybe discomfort arises. Maybe some fear, maybe some shame, maybe some condemnation. As I always say, no shame, no condemnation, no fear. You are not the fear. You are not the shame. You are not the condemnation. So you can allow the emotions to be released. And what can be, let's say, thought of as challenging in the moment is an opportunity point for the individual to not try to be and thus relax into the flow. And they walk over and they start the conversation. So rather than avoiding, we could say, the discomfort of starting the conversation, which is an illusion. The individual naturally allows themselves to be as they start the conversation. You allow yourself to be, not trying to be. You are all that you desire to be. You have all that you desire. You exist as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And so another way of saying it is, it doesn't matter how that conversation goes. If you're interested in getting their phone number, it doesn't matter if they give you their phone number or not. Yet what we do see is the conversations flow perfectly in some shape or form. And I have no desire to, you could say, throw my bias into the equation. But what I have seen is I tend to get the phone numbers. I tend to make new friends. I tend to meet people that we have conversations and maybe I don't see them for a month or two. Maybe we don't connect on Instagram. But then we end up seeing each other later on and the conversation flows. Is one way better than another? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. I know that everything happens perfect as it is now. Yet if there's a genuine desire to start the conversation, I remain in my flow. As we discussed in a recent video while I was in Tampa Bay, which I'll link to in the description, I noticed that intuition brings me back into the flow. And as I honor intuition, by releasing this illusion of discomfort, by allowing the emotions to be released, by not identifying with the thoughts that arise, let's say, from those beliefs in mind that are looking to be released, those thoughts appear to disappear. Specifically, I mean those beliefs that suggest you are not love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. A condition needs to be met in order to experience love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. We see clearly that's an illusion. You are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Existence, consciousness, bliss. You are bliss. They are bliss. Reality is perfect as it is now. And so what happens is, as these conditions are released, the individual takes the intuitive step without the resistance. And if there is some resistance, that's fine as well. It's released along the way. No shame, no condemnation. And what ends up happening then is everything appears to be in synchronicity. You might, let's say, don't know why you desire to start this conversation with the person. You start the conversation with the person, and then they refer business to you. This has happened to me as well. They say, oh, you do this and that? I know someone that can benefit greatly. They may say benefit greatly. I say that I know. Or they may say something that implies that they have somebody that they can connect you with that would love to work with you in some shape or form. The next is trying to fix or change the other person. Now this, let's say, can be tempting based on particular beliefs. If the beliefs are no longer there in mind, then there is no temptation to change the other person. You accept them the way they are. They appear perfectly as they are. You accept yourself the way you are. You appear perfectly as you are. The relationship plays out accordingly, perfectly as it does. And again, I don't want to throw a bias into it and say it'll do this, it'll do that, this will happen, that will happen. Everything happens perfectly as it is. And then when you experience it, as Steve Jobs said in his commencement speech, which I used to listen to over and over again when I was building my IT business from 2009 to 13, you connect the dots looking backwards, and then you see how everything worked out in your favor. So that's one of the opportunities that we can take in the moment. If there's this need arising to change the other person, to change yourself, rather than accept yourself as bliss, love, happiness, peace, fulfillment, rather than accept them as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, we know clearly that's not you really thinking. That kind of thinking belongs to the old man, and you are not the old man. You are the real self, and that is the former self thinking, suggesting illusions of separation. So we don't identify with those thoughts, and what happens is everything works out to be in harmony in some shape or form. This is how, let's say, in entrepreneurship, personal life, business life, friendships, dating life, you can enjoy the journey on the way to actualizing whatever that kind of relationship is that you desire, or the business success, or we could say what you once desired, because now we're speaking very precisely and saying that I stopped trying to be. I stopped trying to be as I am. And I notice that spontaneously what I once desired appears. It appears some way, somehow. I don't need to control things, as it states in the Bible as well. I can of myself to nothing. The Father would then doeth the work. This is an interesting one, trying to be someone that they're not. This is a nuanced point as well, like the other ones, is who you are is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. You don't need to do this or that to prove you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. Yet what plays out is your style. So if your style is dressing in a particular way, living a particular lifestyle, that is your authentic style. That naturally unfolds as you accept yourself. So I don't judge by appearances and say, wait, if this person dresses this way, then they're not being authentic. And if they dress that way, then they are being authentic. Who suggests that? Only the person in mind suggests. As I stop trying to be, as we could say, I stop trying to change people, it naturally unfolds as your authentic way, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, your lifestyle, and you meet people that naturally and authentically live the way that is natural to them. I don't tell them what to do. They don't tell me what to do. We appreciate that, let's say, we inspire each other. That's one of my experiences as well. One of the things that I've realized is, and for example, this is true in flow-based prosperity by group coaching and mastermind service. If you're interested in that, I'll link in the description to it. Is there are individuals from various walks of life. They all have their distinct style of how they communicate. They have their distinct style of how they dress. They have their distinct lifestyles. Individuals are not pretending to be someone that they are not. They accept themselves the way they are. This is a nuance point because you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. As you accept yourself as love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, you could say you genuinely do what you once desired to do. Spontaneously, you do things, you dress in a way that's authentic, you live an authentic life. If you once desired to have a lavish, steady, dependable income, consistent with integrity and mutual benefit, nothing wrong with that. You allow yourself to have it. If you once desired to move and live in a particular country, you don't shame and condemn yourself and say, I have to be here. That's trying to be. I stopped trying to be as I am. One could say, I allow myself to be as I am. You allow yourself to be as you are. And so you are perfect as you are, and everything plays out perfectly, let's say, in interesting ways. And I don't judge by appearances, because the person in mind may think, it has to be this way, or it must be this way, or it should be this way, that this other person has experienced. So maybe then they will start copying this other person's style of doing business. And they are then pretending or trying to be someone that they're not. What I mean by that very specifically is it's really helpful to be inspired by people. It is really helpful to model what feels authentic about what, let's say, another person does. Yet your way is the best way. And it doesn't mean your way is better than their way or their way is better than your way. There's only the best way, let's say. There's only the way. And it plays out as your way and their way being in harmony with you. So we could say then, they inspire you. They inspire you to be as you are, perfect as you are. Love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And it may play out, let's say, as some similarities of how they do it. Or it could play out in a radically distinct way. Again, what I mentioned earlier about connecting the dots looking backwards. And I know this also from as I got into consulting, as you may know, in 2013, and I've consulted with thousands of entrepreneurs, what I have done is not impose my style of entrepreneurship. Yes, I built my IT business primarily through referrals and consulting practice primarily through referrals and also joint ventures, and then this YouTube channel through social media. And I still don't consider these areas to be better than, let's say, running ads or other kinds of marketing ways. I acknowledge, and I have many clients, for example, I had a conversation with Ed, who built his business to success. I'll link in the description to that conversation. He had enormous business growth through running ads, and he's a master at it. So one could say, Joseph, you're a master at referrals. You're a master at joint ventures, as I've done them. They feel very natural to me. So I'm not trying to pretend to be this person that has to do it this way in order to succeed. I do what feels natural to me, what is authentic to me. Maybe at a particular point, I would consider, let's say, going up to Ed and saying, let's have a conversation about that. And what I find is that I may do my own style of that, or we could say my own version of that. As reality is perfect as it is. You are perfect as you are. Ed is perfect as he is. We are perfect as we are together. I don't need to prove anything to him. He doesn't need to prove anything to me. I don't need to force myself to do it his way. He doesn't need to force himself to do it my way. My way is not better than his way. His way is not better than my way. There's the way, and we relate harmoniously. And so at times I may feel inspired by his style and incorporate some of these things into what I do. And then what I found over the years, again, working with thousands of entrepreneurs, is their way is the best way. So as they allow themselves to be, as they stop trying to be, as I stop trying to be, what happens is everyone appears to be. And it plays out as all this wonderful theater, which again, if it's entrepreneurship, then it plays out as harmonious business relationships, the harmonious way, the natural way of actualizing the prosperity. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, I acknowledge that I am perfect as I am. As I allow myself to be perfect as I am, everything flows naturally to me. Reality appears to be in harmony with me, as I am reality, experiencing perfection with people, with environments, with circumstance, with information, appearing as everything in synchronicity, to be in harmony with my vision, to be in harmony with everyone's vision, as everyone appears to be perfect as they are. Reality is perfect as it is. Existence, consciousness, bliss. Bliss appearing to play out as the wonderful play of God.